Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, today we are going to discuss the past papers of professional liability and professional skepticism. These are topic number 2 and topic 3, which we have discussed in the AAA topic wise lecture series. Yesterday, we have discussed the past papers of topic 1 of block 1, which was money laundering. Now, we are going to discuss the past paper questions of two topics. The first one is professional liability, in which there is one past paper question till now. And in case of professional skepticism, there are three past paper questions till now. Now, first, all the professional liability question. First, read the requirement. Explain the matters that should be considered in determining whether Groom and Company is liable to Spaniel Company in respect of the fraud. Now read the question. This is question 4, part A, Spaniel Company. You are a manager in Groom and Company, a firm of ACCA. You have just attended a monthly meeting of audit partners and managers at which client-related matters were discussed. Information in relation to two clients which were discussed at the meeting is given below. Spaniel Company. The audit report on the financial statements of Spaniel Company, a long-standing audit client, means this is the existing client. For the year ended 31st December 2012 was issued in April 2013, means after 3 months. Now, and was unmodified means the report was clean, opinion was clean. Whenever there is a word unmodified, it means the clean opinion, no issue in the report. In May 2013, in the fifth month, Spaniel Company's audit committee contacted the audit engagement partner to discuss a fraud that had been discovered. The company's internal auditors estimate that $4.5 million has been stolen in a payroll fraud, which has been operating since May 2012. Means from the last year, this fraud has been operated. The audit engagement partner commented that neither test of control nor substantive audit procedures were conducted on payroll in the audit of the latest financial statement. As in previous years' audits, there were no deficiencies found in controls over payroll. It means the audit engagement partner mentioned that the audit team did not perform TOC or TOD this year. Why? Because the audit team members assumed that we have been doing the audit of this client since long. So it means last year procedures and controls were operating effectively. So it means we can rely on previous year's controls or procedures for this year. This is wrong approach. This is wrong judgment. We have discussed about the topic of professional skepticism. In every current audit team member should have to perform, should have to maintain professional skepticism, because there can be a possibility that new elements or new activity has been implemented by the client. So this is a wrong judgment. The total assets recognized in Spaniel Company's financial statement at 31st December 2012 were 80 million. Yesterday, I discussed this thing. Whenever there is a total asset, PBT, or total revenue, it means you have to calculate the materiality. Spaniel Company is considering suing Groom and Company for the total amount of cash stolen from the company, claiming that the audit firm was negligent in conducting the audit. Means the client is going to sue the audit firm. Now, this question also include the element of fraud. We have discussed in the fraud topic that auditor is not responsible to prevent and detect fraud. It is the responsibility of the management. But in this case, auditor an audit firm is also liable, is also responsible. Why? Because they have not performed their work diligently. How? Because they have not performed the test of control or substantive audit procedures. These are the basic or primarily responsibility of an audit firm. Now, explain the matters that should be considered in determining whether Groom and Company is liable to Spaniel Company in respect of the fraud. How to write this answer? First, you will write that the auditor's responsibility is to obtain reasonable assurance. Now, what is reasonable assurance? It is a high level of assurance in which auditor express positive form of conclusion. Whether financial statements are free from material misstatement due to error or fraud. Now, not an absolute assurance. Why auditor provide or offers reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance? Because of inherent limitations. Inherent limitation means time limitation and sample basis. We perform the audit on sample basis. We can't perform 100% audit. Now, in respect of fraud, this is the management's primarily responsibility to prevent and detect fraud and to review and monitor the controls. Once you write both the things, now you will I explain the real thing. The auditor's responsibility is to maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit and to perform procedures on identification of fraud. As the fraud has been operated since May 2012 and the management reported to the audit partner after the audit completion is a clear indication of management negligence since it is operated for the last 8 months. Now you are getting the things how to write an effective answer. All the things have been linked with the exam question. As the client means Spaniel company is long standing and the audit team did not perform substantive procedures nor perform a TOC on the payroll amount of 4.5 million also shows negligence from the audit team, as audit team should perform substantive procedures and test of control on each audit engagement or assignment and can't rely on the past year performance. You can also include because every year there can be an effective change. Now, the amount of claim made by the Spaniel company is material as 4.5 million exceeds 1% of materiality. 1% of total asset, which is 80 million, gives the 0.8 million. And the amount of loss fraud is 4.5 million, which is greater than the materiality amount. So it is material. Therefore, it has been observed that both the audit team and the management is equally responsible. So both should settle the amount. How management is responsible? Because management has not informed this thing while doing the audit. Later the audit committee discussed this thing with the engagement partner. Also, how the audit firm is responsible, because the audit firm did not perform the TOC and substantive procedure. So these are the instincts which you have to use while writing your answer. And how will you grab this thing? Once you watch these lectures and practice, there is no shortcut and no alternative. Question 3b, Hoot Company. Now, the questions which we will cover is about the topic of professional skepticism. First, read the requirement. In relation to the audit of Hoot Company's payroll, explain the meaning of the term professional skepticism. This is a general answer. It means you have to write the professional skepticism definition and recommend any further action that should be taken by the auditor. In recommendation further actions, you will have to link it with the scenario. You are responsible for the audit of Court Limited and you are currently reviewing the working papers of the audit for the year ended 28 Feb 2012. It means the audit has been done. Now we are at the review stage. In the working papers dealing with the payroll, the audit junior has commented as follows. Several new employees have been added to the company's payroll during the year. Means there are several joiners with combined payments of 1,25,000 being made to them. There does not appear to be any authorization for these additions. Means combined payment, there is no breakup of these joiners. Also, there does not appear to any authorization. Also, the payment made of 125,000 is not provided any authorization. When audit junior questioned the payroll supervisor who made the amendment, means changes, she said that no authorization was needed. How is it possible that you are making up combined payment of 1,25,000 and you are claiming that there is no authorization needed because the new employees are only working for the company on a temporary basis. It could be a ghost employees or it could be any misappropriation of cash. However, when discussing, you can also identify or understand that payroll is a material component of the financial statement. It is easy for the managerial level persons to manipulate the payroll figures. However, when discussing staffing levels with management, it was started that no new employees have been taken on this year. Means there is a contradiction as the management started that no new employees have been taken on this year, but in the payroll, it's working paper, it's mentioned that several new employees were added, which also confirmed by the payroll supervisor. Now, other than the TOC plan, no other audit work has been performed. Means we only perform TOC, no TOD substantive procedures. Now, how to write this answer? First, you will have to write professional skepticism is an attitude that includes questioning mind, means you have to question. Being alert to conditions, you have to be alert about any condition that indicate possible misstatement. In this case, the fraud regarding payroll. Critical assessment of audit evidence. Whenever, whatever evidence you obtain, you should have to critically evaluate. Further actions. Even if management has shown integrity and honesty in the past, the auditor shall still maintain professional skepticism in the planning and performing the audit. He shall corroborate every assertion of management by obtaining persuasive evidence. Means you can't just rely on the management, even though the management is honest and full of integrity. You have to be skeptical. Now, there is a contradiction between staffing level management and payroll supervisor regarding the joining of new employees. In addition to the TOC, audit junior should obtain authorization sheets of the new employees along with a breakup of the payment made to them, that is 1,25,000, to ensure that the payment made to them is appropriate or not. Also, the contract details of such employees should be reviewed to ensure the duration of their employment. As in the payroll records, the supervisor payroll mentioned that these are for the temporary period, means short-term period. So we have to obtain their contract details as it could help to identify the payroll amount apportionment to them. Again, another question on professional skepticism. Now require explain the importance of professional skepticism in planning and performing an audit, and discuss how professional skepticism should be applied to the statement made by Silvio. Part A regards to professional skepticism, part B with procedures about impairment of goodwill. If you watch the block 3 lectures of procedure, then you can solve this question. Even though I have solved this question in my regular lectures, the part C is about the recommend the procedures to be used in performing a forensic investigation on the alleged bribery payment. If you have watched the block 4 lectures of other assignment, then you can also solve this question of part C. I am just solving the part A because it relates to professional skepticism. Okay, let's read. Tony Group, you are an audit manager in Soprano and Company working on the audit of the Tony Group, the group whose financial year ended on 31st March 2015. This is the first time you have worked on the group audit. The draft consolidated financial statement recognized profit before tax of 6 million and total assets of 90 million. The group manufactures equipment used in the oil extraction industry. Okay. Goodwill of 10 million is recognized in the group statement of financial position, having arisen on several business combinations over the last few years. An impairment review was conducted in March 2015, means in the year end, by Silvio Dante, the group finance director, and this year an impairment of 50,000 is to be recognized in respect of goodwill. Now, Silvio has prepared a file of documentation to support the results of the impairment review, including notes on the assumptions used, his calculations, and conclusions. When he gave you this file, Silvio made the following comment. Now, from this paragraph, we will solve part A. I don't think you should need any evidence other than that contained in my file. This is a vague statement. Why Silvio can think we don't need any evidence? It is the judgment of the auditor or the responsibility of the Silvio to provide any evidence, any document, whatever required by the audit team. The assumptions used are straightforward. How is it possible that the assumptions for the impairment review is straightforward? This is impossible. So you shouldn't need to look into them in detail. This doubt on the integrity of the Silvio, how Silvio can make such statements. The assumptions are consistent with how we conducted impairment reviews in previous years, and your firm has always agreed with the assumptions used. So you can check that back to last year audit file. How is it possible that the Silvio can calculate the impairment review and the assumptions used in this are consistent with the prior year? Assumptions are always based on estimates, and estimates are for the future. So this is again a wrong statement. All of the calculations have been checked by the head of group audit internal audit department. Now, Silvio has also informed you that two members of the sales team are suspected of paying bribes in order to secure lucrative customer contracts. So this paragraph relates to part C, this paragraph relates to part A, and the above paragraph relates to part B. Let's solve the part A about importance of professional skepticism. Importance of professional skepticism. The file of the goodwill impairment review made by Silvio Dante, Group Finance Director, provided to the audit team has made inappropriate comments regarding. No other evidence is required in addition to the file because it is the auditor's duty to ask question and require further evidence to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Also, no detailed review as the assumptions are straightforward. This is the statement by the Silvio Dante. So, because assumptions involve judgments and can be complex, so it can't be straightforward. Once you copy paste the statement of the Silvio Dante, then you will have to link it with your own wording. Means why this assumptions can't be straightforward. You have to give the reason because assumptions involve judgment and can be complex, so it can't be straightforward. Also, assumptions are consistent with the previous years. This is the statement of the Silvio Dante. Now, and can be reviewed with last year files because assumptions revise each year as the calculation of impairment recoverable amount includes fair value. Fair value, you can't take the fair value of the previous year. Of course, whenever you are going to sell or purchase any asset, you will take the fair value which includes estimates, which would be changed each year. So it can't be consistent anymore. Once you write these things, then you have to answer about the next thing and discuss how professional skepticism should be applied to the statement made by Silvio. Now the discussion. As all the calculations are done by the internal audit team, which is not independent to the directors. Internal audit team are not independent, means they are dependent to the directors. Therefore, all the calculations should be recalculated by the audit team to ensure the accurate and correctness. As it involves assumptions, judgment, the amount of impairment loss on goodwill is immaterial, as 50,000, which is lower than the amount of materiality, that is 3 lakh. 6 million multiplied by 5%, because in this case we calculated the materiality based on PBT. Auditors should maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit, even if management has shown integrity and honesty in the past. Auditor can't rely on past year working files, as each year the terms and conditions change occasionally. Professional skepticism helps to avoid using inappropriate assumptions in determining audit procedures and evaluating results. Now, if you compare the professional skepticism question, there are few things which are common in every past paper exam. What are those things? The first thing is auditor rely on the last year evidence. In every or in most of the professional skepticism questions, you will get this thing. Once you get this thing, then your mind will pop up if you watch this lecture. Otherwise, you just stuck there and you beat your head what to do and how to go through this question. Now, last question on the topic professional skepticism. This is question 4, but we will solve only related to professional skepticism. So part A relates to professional skepticism. Now, discuss how there are other part. That's why this question is very long, but we just solve part A. Discuss how professional skepticism should be applied to the statements made by the management and auditor of Valerian Company regarding the outstanding legal case. Now, where is the legal case? This paragraph. First, read the main body. You are an audit manager at Thornhill and Company responsible for the audit of Northwest Company, a subsidiary of Valerian Company. A different audit firm is responsible for the audit of Valerian Company and the Valerian Group financial statement. The audit of the financial statements of Northwest Company for the year ended 31st July 2016 is nearing completion. But the following issues require your attention before the auditor's report is signed and your final communication is made to the group auditor. In response to their request for information, the draft financial statement of Northwest Company recognized a loss before tax of 50,000. Northwest Company has been loss-making for several years and it generates insufficient cash to meet its significant debt obligation. The company relies on support from Valerian Company in order to continue trading. The management of Valerian Company has confirmed verbally. Whenever there is anything confirmed verbally, we should not rely on verbal statement. Why? Because they are insufficient evidence that it will continue to support Northwest Company but has not provided a formal letter of support despite the number of requests. Now, you are aware that Valerian Company is the subject of a major lawsuit following an industrial accident which resulted in significant pollution of local agricultural land and most seriously loss of life. You attempted to discuss the matter with the directors of Valerian Company, but they refused, saying that it had already been investigated by the group auditor. Group auditor is another audit firm, as it's mentioned here. Here, okay. The group auditor informed you that the case is ongoing and that they have obtained satisfactory representation from both management and legal advisors, starting that they were confident of successfully defending the claim. When you asked for copies of the representation, the group auditor refused, saying it was a matter relevant to the parent company and that it was not relevant to the audit of Northwest Company. Discuss how professional skepticism should be applied to the statement made by the management and auditor of Valerian Company. Professional skepticism is an attitude that includes questioning mind and being alert to conditions of the critical assessment of audit evidence. The auditor is required to maintain PS throughout the audit. Now, the Northwest Company, subsidiary of Valerian Company, has been in losses for the last many years and has insufficient cash to pay its debt. Where the management claims that Valerian Company is funding the Northwest Company for their operation. This is a horrible statement as no written documentary evidence is available, so it's not valid, as it seems that management of Northwest Company attempt to hide the material uncertainty relating to going concern in this matter, as Northwest Company makes a loss before tax of 50,000. Now you guys can be worried about how the material uncertainty is here. This will happen with all of you who will not watch the previous or the complete lectures. There is no point to jump to the past paper questions before completing your topic wise lecture. Material uncertainty has been explained in the blog 3 lecture, audit reporting and its implication. Now, being the auditor of the Northwest Company, subsidiary of Valerian Company, it is the responsibility of Thornhill Company to be aware of all the matters related to the group. Both parent and subsidiary are audited by separate auditors, so the statement of Valerian Company auditor is not appropriate. Not providing any evidence of the lawsuit against the Valerian Company limits the scope of Thornhill Company, and also it creates doubt on the independence of the Valerian Company auditor. You can also write about the scope limitation. Thornhill Company should critically evaluate the reason for not providing the evidence and the call from the engagement partner regarding not modifying the audit report of Northwest Company. This seems that the engagement partner has a close relationship with Valerian Company, which creates a familiarity threat. Why we have written about the ethical issues, which is the blog 2, because audit engagement partner is not allowed to modify the report even though the audit team is not able to obtain the evidence. Still, the engagement partner didn't allow to modify the audit report. It means there is something fishy between the audit engagement partner and the management of the Valerian Company. That's why we have written the scene that the engagement partner has a close relationship with Valerian Company, which creates a familiarity threat. So that's it for the professional liability and professional skepticism past paper questions. I have a recommendation for you. Don't watch or go through the ACCA past paper suggested solutions. Why? Because the suggested solutions of the ACCA have been drafted by 2 to 3 different examiners. So there is no point to compare yourself with the examiner. If you made this mistake, I don't say this thing, but it will demotivate you. You can rely on this suggested answer, or you can also compare it with your tutor notes. It's up to you, but my recommendation is not to compare it with the ACCA examiner answer. Take care, good luck, and best wishes.